Hello, everyone. Today I'm in Lawrenceville, Georgia, at the offices of Ernst Concrete. Go with green! I can say that now because I'm not working for any one concrete company anymore. I'm working for all the producers in Georgia. I'm really looking forward to interviewing David Ernst today and learning more about the history of Ernst Concrete and, of course, about David himself. Dave, let's start with you. Tell us your personal story so we can get to know Dave Ernst, the man, before we get into the Dave Ernst, the business owner.
Good morning, Bill. Appreciate you coming in here this morning and taking the time with not just me, the other producers there. I think it's a really awesome thing that you're doing for the members and the industry itself. Again, my name's David Ernst, Ernst Concrete. Just try to go back and hopefully I do a good job for you, Bill, and our company, to kind of tell you a little bit more about me and the company. But, a little bit about me, I'll go back to where David Ernst, was born and raised, and I'll probably bring it up from there. But, I've been very blessed in my life to have a great upbringing, great family, great parents and stuff like that. Was pretty much born and raised up in a Midwestern Ohio town, just north of Dayton, Ohio. Troy, Ohio was the name of the town. I think it was a small town comparably to Canton, Georgia, or something like that here in this area. Pretty much grew up on a farm. I think that was part of my good upbringing, when you get to learn how to, be accountable to animals and duties and things like that. I think that was probably one of my good things that my upbringing there helped me learn some good, important things. I'm a family of 5, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I'm kind of in the middle of them. I got an older brother and sister and a younger brother and sister as well. And in Ohio, in the winters, it get pretty cold up there. Things that I did up in Ohio, again, farming. We raised cattle was mostly what we did. We had crops, drove tractors, cut firewood, had chickens, horses, you name it. We went through it all. Did the 4-H thing. Really liked doing that. We showed cattle, and we got to show cattle and sell cattle and got money for it. That was kind of a responsibility I think my dad thought was very, very important, where we had to put in the work to get the benefit of the money. And to a kid, it was a big deal. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but I'm sure my dad he probably gave up whatever money he was going to make. He gave it to us kids so we could put that in the bank somewhere. But was very, very blessed with my brothers and sisters. Some of my things that I did growing up, I liked to wrestle. I wrestled in middle school and high school. I never wrestled outside of high school, but I wrestled some AAU and stuff like that. I always thought wrestling was pretty good because I was never really a big person. In football, I did play football, but I was very, very small, and I got my butt kicked. So I didn't think that was the right sport to get into, but I really liked wrestling. I like to do outdoor sports when it comes to fishing, hunting, mostly fishing. Like the outdoors. I like cutting grass. I mean, I do
Yes.
do some those little menial things. But that's sort of my growing up part. But as growing up, I met my high school sweetheart, Renee, in high school. I was a senior when I met her, and she was a freshman. And when I went off to college, we still dated, and I kind of got homesick. So I went to college for 2 years. I went to college at Ohio University, which is in southern Ohio. Mm-hmm. Go Bobcats. But I came after a 2-year stint there and came back home and went to work for the company, and ended up getting, proposed to my wife and got married. I think it was 1986 when we did get married. We lived there for about 6-7 months. And then my dad asked me, because we were just getting new here into the Georgia market, about coming down to Georgia to see about working for the company. And as my dad would, you don't say no to my dad too often, but I thought it'd be a good experience. My wife said yes. I was very thankful for her to say that and to give it a nice little exposure to something outside of Ohio. And so we moved down here in '87. And at that time, my wife was pregnant, and we had our first son. I currently have 3 sons and a daughter. 3 of the sons work for the company. Very, very thankful and blessed for that. They're all part of the company in some ways. My daughter, Taylor, love her. She's a nurse, works in Cherokee County. Really proud of her. Just enjoy the family life. Just been very, very blessed there, and worked with some good folks with Ernst, and I think that's about it on the personal side.
Really interesting, David. What a way to grow up on a farm in Ohio. And like you said, I bet those winters could be awfully harsh. And I'm eager to get into this, into the part about the history of the business. Can you talk about the beginnings of Ernst Concrete up there, and then I think it'd be interesting to hear some of the thought process of coming to Georgia. So just talk us through the beginning of the business and how it's organized today, the overall footprint. Those are all things I think folks would enjoy hearing about. Oh, and by the way, I think I remember that your company Ernst was involved in the advanced mixer business. It helped clear some of that up. So just give us the story.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, Ernst is definitely, I hope I do it justice, because there's definitely, like with any family business, when you look back over we're on our 4th generation right now, so it's, really is a family, truly a family-owned business, and it goes back to the late 1945. My grandfather was a family of a total of 10. He had 7 brothers and 3 sisters in this family. And they were big farmers up there. They owned a lot of farmland. Most of them farmed, but then there was a couple of them worked in businesses and stuff like that. And
this was north of Dayton, is that right? Is that the area?
Yes. Houston, Ohio, pronounced the same way it is here in Georgia, is a little town north of Troy, Ohio. Just a small little, you wouldn't know much about it, where it originated from, but then it kind of grew from there. But the family members that were intricate in it was my grandfather, Pete, and his brother, or my great uncle, I guess you would call it, Anthony, decided to, some of their farmland was potential good up in Ohio they have a lot of gravel pits up there, so you don't have quarries, so to speak, where you're mining. It's stuff that you literally dig out of the ground. You get below the topsoil, and if you're in a good deposit, whether it could be sandy gravel or good gravel, you could do pretty good with it. That was their thinking, I believe. But they did acquire a small company. Their first aggregate company was acquired, like I said, in the end of 1945. Through the 45 and the 50s, they acquired other gravel pits. So that's kind of how we got started. It was mostly in the gravel business, where learning how to make money doing it through the 50s. In our early stint of the ready-mix company, we actually got into ready-mix business in 1959. Was our first acquisition when they bought a company that had a concrete plant in Troy, Ohio. So that kind of got us going into the concrete business. And they had some documents there that the plant could do 30 yards an hour, and they had 6 trucks. So it was kind of a cool little beginning. Yes. How hard it must have been back then. But all along it was, back then, and I was told by family members that back then you didn't go to the bank to get financing. you went to your family members. So a lot of the family members, the other brothers and sisters, they kind of, they were farming, they were doing other things, but you kind of went to them and kind of asked for, hey, might give you some more ownership or dividends or returns, and they had to rely on the family to help finance these little acquisitions through the years in the gravel business.
Interesting, very interesting.
And but as the end of the 50s came, then the 60s came, it was kind of quite interesting with when you talked about, where Advance Mixer came from. And one of the things that really, how we got involved with it, we really were just owners and investors in a company. I believe the guy's name was Dan Beaverstein, had developed this design, and he went to, I believe it was 18 different ready-mix producers in that Midwest. I mean, some of them could be in other states, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and got some buy-in from these ready-mix producers. And I guess the benefit the return was that you got a discount on the truck purchase. If it was 10%, 5%, I'm not exactly sure what the benefit was. So that's how we kind of got involved with it. We were just silent partners, so to speak. Yeah. And over the years, we were part of that. But then I think it shifted hands in the 80s, mid 80s. It had sold to a company, and then it's acquired by Terex now that owns them. But going a little bit more about the gravel, and we were still in the gravel business. We acquired, going into the 70s now, we started getting into concrete, acquiring other facilities in around the Dayton area. We even got down into Cincinnati, acquired some other ready-mix operations. We greenfielded a few operations down there. Over the years, we learned to grow and greenfielding through the years.
Right. Now, before you, I think you said you had come down here to introduce the business into Georgia. Before that time, were you involved much up there in the business?
Yeah, and I probably should have included this on my personal side because the concrete business was ongoing when I was a young child. It was always, definitely Dad was, just like anything. You'd get up early. You might see your dad at night when he got home, but during my earlier days, like in high school, we always participated. My brothers, we worked on the summer at the gravel pits. When we were younger, we worked in the concrete, departments, whether it was quality control. I think one of our duties we were the bowl patrol, where we would have to chip out drums at night.
Wow.
One of our little things. I don't know if you could get away with what we did back then, but we did many different things in high school, summertime, breaks. If there was winter breaks, things like that. Batch concrete, concrete testing. I think we even helped in our fleet maintenance shop where we worked on trucks. Anything that was needed at the time, we would do that during those, in college, high school, those type of days. And then when I got married, I worked mostly in the quality control department, just kind of learning more about the concrete quality and stuff like that. I worked in Dayton, Ohio for about a year. And that's when, I think in 85, 86, and then we got married, came down here, and started, working here in Georgia.
So say a little bit about those early days here in Georgia. If you could talk a little bit about, the initial locations and kind of those early days, how it was getting started and, some of your challenges.
A little bit on the funny story there, I'll say there is like when my dad and Mark Vandegrift, a couple key people with Ernst, were looking for additional markets to get into. They were investigating, different areas, and one of the things about Ohio is that the winter times are pretty harsh, and in the winter time your production levels go way down, and it's really not profitable. We were looking for other markets in the South. that might have 12 opportunities for 12-month market. Well, we had come and did market studies here in Atlanta. We did a market study in Charlotte and did a market study down in Florida, in Miami. And we were kind of going back and forth with which area was going to be the best market for us. And one of the pivotal things was when the Williams Brothers was one of the largest ready-mix companies here in Atlanta. They were the biggest, the best. They did everything. And when my dad had heard that they were selling to the Blue Circle company, my dad had thought, it's a foreign company. What kind of transition would that be like for the customers and the market? That really, that's what he'd always had said, that meant that, hey, let's take a really closer look at it. So that's kind of how we got here into Lawrenceville. Lawrenceville was our first location. Another funny story on that was my dad flew into the Gwinnett Airport over here by the Lawrenceville office. And when he was flying over, this is his first visit, he saw the cement terminal right next to the National Cement Terminal that is there now. And he said, "What is that down there?" And the guy said, "That's a cement terminal." He said, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And he flew by and he saw this empty lot right here, because he was actually flying in to review another site in Lilburn, Georgia. Supposedly there was a ready-mix site or a possible site. He was coming down for that.
Right.
But then when he flew into Lawrenceville, he saw this empty site next to a cement terminal. Thought, man, that's pretty good synergy there. And Bobby Pitts was the landowner, and he was a cantankerous gentleman. I'll go into the stories of how him and my dad, because my dad didn't like to lose. He was a hard negotiator. He was full of energy, and he didn't like to lose. Well, Bobby Pitts was the equal of that.
Right.
He was tough negotiator. He knew what he had. He had Dad on the hook, and they came to an agreement. And it was just kind of cool how that ended up being our first location, and still today is our location that we have here in Lawrenceville.
So kind of talk through from there that growth in location, if you could. You went from here to where and
the Georgia path was I think it was a steady growth, and I don't know if I mentioned Dave McKinney's name. He was the founding father of Ernst. He worked for Ernst in the early 70s, did many roles for us in Ohio, and he was one of the ones that Dad tapped to come down here, because he was very, very special guy. We're very, very, very thankful for him, and with him. He always wanted to do things right. He wanted to take care of his people, wanted nice plants, nice equipment. We wanted to grow in a fashion that we were able to manage our footprint.
Right.
We didn't want to outdo our thing. So I think we had that in mind. But so that was in 1986 when we got operation in March of 1986. Another true story is our first delivery of concrete was like quadrupled overdosed in water reducer. The concrete never set up. The home builder, we told the finisher just to hang on, wait. It's going to set up. We knew what we did, and our mistake was we bought him a bunch of beer to settle in there, to be patient. Well, the concrete never did set up. So our first delivery of concrete we had to replace from the very get-go. But true funny story.
That's a good story.
That's the concrete business for you. But so that was in 1986. A few years after that, 1989, we were planning on putting up a location in Lithonia. So our Lithonia location was put in 1989. During that year, we had an opportunity as well. There was a company, Riverside Ready Mix, that was in Kennesaw, Georgia. Frank Benoit was the owner of that company, and it was kind of bought that on the courthouse steps in bankruptcy in Louisiana. And that's how we got our start in Kennesaw.
What year was that, Dave?
That was in 1989 as well.
89, okay.
Yeah, so we got those two plants there, so we're chugging along. In our second, third, fourth plants there. We're on fourth and fifth plants. We're our Jefferson plant and our ball ground plants. We were kind of trying to grow. We kind of divided our company in kind of two different quadrants, kind of the west side and the east side to kind of, I don't want to say that's how we managed it and stuff like that. I think that was in 1995 and 97. Those two plants were put up. Then as we grew a little bit further, Dawsonville was in 2004, and Monroe was another 2006 is when we put that location up. We were kind of targeting more of the residential. We weren't heavy into commercial, trying to get into these areas that could see some potential growth. Gwinnett County's been a super place to do business over the years, along some other plants. So we kind of had that footprint for quite a while. But here I'm going to say in the most recent was like in 2018. We put our College Park plant up. Then we went to Lithia Springs, which is on the west side, was a couple years after that. We're currently putting a location in Oakwood, Georgia, as we're working on.
So what's your total plant count now in Georgia? How many plants?
We have 9 locations, and then this 10th location in Oakwood is coming online hopefully in a couple of months here.
I'm wanting to ask you a little bit before we go on. I think it would be good to hear a little bit about how you're organized. You've mentioned you've got 3 sons that are in the business. Is that right? There are 3. It's DJ and Corey, and then who's
Dylan.
Dylan
Just came on.
Okay. Could you just talk a little bit about your how you're organized and about their roles and your role too, if you would?
Yeah, I'll touch on that some there. Again, going back to Dave McKinney, he was like the founding father. He was the president. He's kind of ran the show for many, many, many years. He retired in 2005. Great mentor for me and a lot of folks here. And we were kind of structured kind of flat. We really didn't have a whole lot of different titles or whatever there. We all kind of did a lot of different, we all teamed up and did things there. But kind of as we grew, we did have to face those challenges of being more structured with different departments. We had to grow different departments. We had to, originate departments because of the structures that we were getting, whether it was fleet maintenance was, widespread. Other departments was safety now, administratively departments, a lot of things there that we had to grow. But as the years went on, I was sort of the heir apparent of Dave McKinney, the president. We had 2 general managers under me, Jeff Briggs. He was a general manager. I was sort of a general manager on the Cobb side, but then as DJ over the last couple of years, DJ has worked within the business in different roles, and at that time he was a general manager too, coming up through the ranks. Corey Ernst, he is in our HR department, with a lot of the challenges with, retention, development of people and employees. We really made a really good focus to get tactical on that. And Corey and a few other folks within our company really have stepped up in that department. Dylan, mentioned a little bit about Dylan. He graduated from Auburn a year or so ago, so he's fairly new to the company. I think he just put in his first complete year, January 17th, full time. And he's starting to try to learn more of the operations than anything right at the moment. And hopefully he grabs a hold of stuff and things like that. But we got, since then, we've kind of expanded my role as more of a CEO and hired a Jason Williams, a great addition to our company he's got lots of experience with other ready-mix companies, a lot of years in the ready-mix business himself. Many roles he's kind of stepped in, kind of that buffer. Being a family business, I'm trying to be good to the sons and maybe people behind. Coming from someone else, I think it's was a smart move. I probably wasn't totally part of that decision, but my son DJ knowing that he needed the help. My brothers, we all talked about what is the best for that next generation, and Jason's been a really, really good addition to help bridge that, and look forward for DJ's development to still improve.
No, that makes perfect sense, Dave. I'm glad you shared that with us. It's good to know. Let me ask you another question. What do you see now for the producers? The big challenges in as a Georgia ready mix producer, if you could kind of hit the highlights of the things that we struggle with, that our industry, the big priorities for you. What comes to mind?
This is a hard one to answer there completely, and I have two things that I tell, whether it's Jason or DJ or some of the other managers. People is probably one of the biggest challenges with retaining people. That's always been a big thing here lately, is to keep people in the industry, but developing them to be a knowledgeable workforce. I think our industry needs good, knowledgeable people to keep moving it forward through the changes that might occur in our industry. To be, with technology changes, you have to be a lot more savvy.
Right.
Computers do a lot more than they did. I remember, when I first started batching concrete, there was no computers at all. Everything was manually done. So many things depend on technology and the change that has happened over the last, let's say, 40 years. I think that people and change, dealing with the change, I think is very, very important. And to have your eyes open. I mean, some ideas might not work, and I think over the years we've tried some things that whether it was some type of a technology, computer-based thing, or a different process, they don't always work. Right. I think you have to try to go ahead with it if you think it is a good idea. And people in development, I think I go back to that one. That has been pivotal. And very, very pivotal, especially with the COVID and all that, with what's happening with people shutting down. We kind of stuttered there for a while, and now I think there's a good influx of people. I think we've done better by developing a path to get CDL. We're talking all the way from the top, all the way down to the bottom as far as people. It's not just executive training and stuff like that. Right. We have to develop our people, and if we don't develop our people, it would cause a company to have troubles, and in fact turn the industry not in a positive way. I think what a company does. I mean, we're all in it together. All of our producers are trying to supply a product or a service that in our communities. If we don't do it, who else will? And we're the best to do that, or we believe we're the best to do it. So having good smart people and keeping up with technology and change.
That's a great point, Dave. I mean, there's no doubt you've been in it a lot longer than I have. The sophistication in the technology in our industry is just it's increasing. And you've got to invest in your people to be up for that challenge. So, great points. Changing gears just a little bit, you have been involved in the Georgia Ready Mix Concrete Association over the years. You were a past chairman. So you've given your time and your energies, and now DJ has joined the board, and he's been a great addition. And, of course, Corey is involved in our committees, the committee work. So we really appreciate that. I mean, there's a lot of work to be part of the association, but we're working to improve this industry, so everyone's going to benefit from it. So you've got a lot of experience in the association. Could you take a few minutes and talk about what you see are the benefits. What's the value for a ready mix producer and our associates? What's the value of being in our association?
All right. Again, this one has got multiple answers to it, no doubt. It's we've been Georgia Ready Mix Concrete Association. We're part of the NRMCA, which is an affiliate, basically an association that evolves around our business. And I think with the GRMCA and being a part of it, like you said, being a past president and part of the board and stuff like that, it's a lot of the relationships I feel are very, very invaluable to not just myself, but to companies that can, as you started these committees and stuff like that, to be able to draw knowledge through these relationships. I think you think you've known it all, you think you got the best thing going, or the best practice, but having relationships and being able to, whether it's through training, some of your committee member meetings, different things that you offer, I think it's just very, very helpful for a producer. Whether you're a large producer or a small producer, I think there's value in, when you talk about vendors and people that, we all do business with same vendors, same technologies generally. I mean,
Yes.
There's probably different name brands, but the same type of technologies. I mean, truck equipment,
Yes.
plants, having those relationships, how to do to do better business.
Yes.
When I think of our trucks and our equipment, our plants, how important that stuff is, how to update with like technology to make your plants better, environmentally friendly. There could be different technologies where we meet people at our association events to bring out those relationships, that you didn't have, and to be able to work off of those. I think that's one of the relationships I think can never be underestimated.
Yes.
On the value there. And for me, that was, most of it is these relationships are lifelong.
I mean, let's face it. We got business to do, but we also want to enjoy our lives. And the quality of our relationships has a whole lot to do with the enjoyment and the pleasure that we have. Well, let me ask you. Here's the last question, and it's one with a number of answers, I'm sure. But at this point, Dave, what advice would you offer to new people coming into the industry, the new leaders that are emerging? Just some general advice at this point. You've been in this business a long time, and I'd just be curious to hear, what you would have to say about that.
I think the advice that I would have that would be helpful, at least coming from my perspective, is because the ready mix business is still blue collar. You still got, yes, you have computers and you have different technologies, and it can get pretty complicated and things, but it does come down to the blue collar part of it, hands on. I think if someone learns different parts of the industry, as far as the operation, I think is very, very key. But sales, quality control, I think safety is coming more and more paramount in our industry, the liabilities on the road. To understand as much as you can about each department would be so valuable. If you have that training or that past experience in the current role that you might get into, you'll understand how each one works together. And I think if you don't have that, it'd be very, very hard for somebody to understand what that department or what you're trying to communicate through, what they might be going through. So having a complete understanding of the business is so invaluable.
That's a great point, Dave, and that's one of the things that, as I got involved in this business over 20 years ago, that really struck me is there's so much interdependence, and it's a complicated business. There are a lot of moving parts, as you point out, and if you're going to be effective, you've got to learn these different the different aspects of our business and understand those people that our professional drivers that are there on the front lines. I mean, it all comes down in a lot of ways to them and their knowledge and their skills and their being supported.
Yeah, I was going to mention one more thing, and it's kind of some of the training that we've been doing here recently. There is another thing I would say to someone there is gratitude. I think when I think of something that's paramount, because we're all working together, you're all working for a company that's trying to, the one goal. They have the goal to take care of the customers, produce good concrete safely and stuff like that. But show gratitude. I think a thank you goes a long ways in just your relationship. It is a role model type activity to show gratitude. That goes a long ways.
That's a great point, David. And I think I'm going to end on that point, and I'm going to express my gratitude to you. I really admire you, Dave. I mean, I've known you, I got to know you not long after I came to Atlanta, and you're very kind. You always showed kindness to me, and since I've come back, and we've been together at Ponte Vedra, and being with you, you are really someone I admire and I really appreciate. Especially, of course, appreciate your involvement in the association and giving your time and energy to help us and our industry be successful. So, thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you, Bill. Appreciate you again coming in and leading us in the state of Georgia, and appreciate everything you do for us, Bill. Thank you.